Your first step to getting started with iXBRL Mate is either to create a new account if you don't have one, or log in with your existing account. Let's go create a new account now. Type in the required details and your password and click continue. You'll see a message that your new account has been created for you. Now you can get started. Fill in your firm details, run down the form a little bit and click the OK button. Right, now you're ready to add your first company. Obviously, click on the Add New Company button and fill in the details. Filling in the full company name here will save you time later on. Then confirm that you want to create a new company by clicking the Yes and Save. Now you'll see there's a To Pay button on the right hand side. You don't have to pay right now. You actually can work on this company and pay right at the end of the process. So this facilitates the situation where there's a time delay in arranging your payment. You can still work on the system. Click the little pencil to get started. Now you're simply going to fill in the fields that are appropriate and click on Save and Continue when you get to the bottom of the form. Dates can be selected from the little calendar menu. And when you select that date, all the other dates are populated as well. Choose whether it's IFRS for SMEs or full IFRS and click Save and Continue. This screen is here for you to keep track of where you are with your iXBRL file creation. So you can say if it's not started or it's in process, it's ready for submission, whatever, and when it's completed. Click Continue, and now you're going to select the reports that are applicable. Now bear in mind, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take your existing set of annual financial statements and bring them into iXBRL. So only those statements which are in your annual financial statements need to come into the iXBRL. So you'll switch off the ones that aren't applicable. So usually we have statement of financial position, current, non-current, and so this one is switched off. Usually we have this one, and we would then switch these ones off. All these other ones are usually required. When you've selected the ones you need, click Continue, and it's going to select the first one, and you're going to start entering your data. You'll see that some data has already come through from what we entered on the earlier screens. Anything that has a blue cross is a required field. Okay, it will say error if not reported. It must be reported. So you have to fill these details in. And the way you fill the details in is to click on the little pencil. It will jump to the screen where you now need to fill in the details. And save. The little blue sign disappears. You can move down to the next one. So who's responsible for compliance? Fill in the details. Save. Next one, average number of employees. Okay, if it's a number, then it's going to go into the current column here. So they will fill in. Okay, if it's a 0, you could fill in 0, but it's going to disappear because it doesn't display zeros. Okay, and the full public interest score, 500. Right, where possible, fields have already been filled in. So those are the normal default values. So for example here, annual financial statements audited, true, because if not audited, you're not going to be submitting this iXBRL. You're going to do an FAS in that case, and that's a completely different thing. You don't need this program for that. The others are filled in. Only one of these can be true. Okay, the date of the financial statements. Date of the audit. So that's the date that the financial statements were signed by the auditors. If it's got a question mark, then it's not necessarily required. It's just you need to look at it and you decide whether you need to fill in anything there. So for example here, date of the independent review, you don't need to fill anything in because there wasn't an independent review. So the question mark is fine. Email address of company, let's fill that in. Okay, and the others, we'll fill those in quickly. So once we've got all that information in, we shoot back up to the top of the form and select the next item from the drop-down list. In this case, general information about the financial statements. And again, we work through this. Wherever there's a cross, we need to put some data in. So let's go there, type of company. There we select from a drop-down list. Domestic, private, that's the usual one. Okay, and we fill in all the details. If we need to copy paste, we can, for example, copy that, Control C, and the full name of the company, Control V. Right, those items that say abstract, that's talking about the items underneath it. So it's all about the business address of the company, and here is the business address details. But we never fill anything in on an abstract. You see it's grayed out here. So it's only the items that have got a little pencil next to them to change what's in there. So we can go through and fill all these in as well now. I'll do that quickly. Right, that's almost everything. Just the last one here, professional designation. Select from the drop down, save, check they're all there, and back up to the top and choose the next item. Okay, now we're going to look at our statement of financial position. Now all these are numbers, so we're going to be filling in numbers into the blocks, and as we fill the numbers in, it's going to automatically add them up going down. So I've got a copy of the financial statements in front of me on another screen, and I'm just going to enter these numbers in as we go along. So let's go with this one, and you'll see it takes a moment, but that then adds up into the total down here. Move across to the next item. And it adds up. So it's really a case of just filling in the form and put all the items into here. Now bear in mind the taxonomy is defined. That's the items on the left. So those are the tags, and we are putting the numbers to go with those tags. Now sometimes in a balance sheet there might be 2 or 3 items which make up the tag, in which case we can either just put in the sum into the field, or we can do this. For example, under other non-current financial assets, we might have 2 items, in which case we click on this little button here, which is a copy, and we give the detail. Now that will go down here and it will add this indented, the description, and then we can fill in the amount. And you'll see that it adds up because this is a sub item of this item. Right, then if we had another item, that we can click on that little button and we can put in the other item. And that item will now get added as a sub item as well. And when I fill in the amount, it will all get added up. So it's just a case of filling in the form. Then you can check the totals as you go along. Here's an item that's got a little blue flag next to it. Now that means, look across here, so it's got this little blue flag next to it. If you look across here, it says it's a footnote if nil. So if this item happens to be 0, then it requires a footnote. And when you click on the little pencil, it will give you the footnote and you can say why that item is nil. I usually just put none, but those are important. If the item is nil and we fail to put a footnote in, then we will get a validation error. Okay, when we're done, we move up to the next item. So we'll go to comprehensive income and we're going to fill in those details. And just carry on doing this all the way through. These statements are easy, except let's look at the cash flow, because here's something that you must take very careful note of. In the indirect method cash flow, the taxonomy insists that you start with profit after tax. Now, every indirect method cash flow that I've seen starts with profit before tax. So we have to make an adjustment here. We've got to go with the after tax, and then we put the tax difference into this item so that we're starting with the right thing. Okay, so you just fill in these forms and you go along. When we get to the notes, okay, well, let's go to accounting policies first. This is a little bit different. The accounting policies is just one big text block. Now this works really well if you're working from an Excel set of financial statements. So let's go to put in the accounting policies. Click on the pencil. Right, now I've got some financial statements. Let's have a look at them. And I've selected the entire accounting policies. Right click and copy. Come back over here. Now in this text box at the top, I'll click here, press Ctrl V, and then immediately go across on process to HTML. Okay, that will take what's in this text and it puts it into the HTML editor. And you can see how it comes through as tables. The next thing I do is run down to the bottom and click on Save. Notice, be patient. If that file is big, it will take quite a while to save. Okay, now it's got a little grid here to show me that there's data in here. Just come back in again and go and have a look. This is now being converted to HTML. It's been saved, and in that saving process, it eliminates characters which aren't acceptable, okay, which would give you validation errors, and it comes in here. Now you can have a look through this, and you can edit it. This is an HTML editor. So if you're not happy with something, we want to move things around, you can do so. But generally speaking, it isn't necessary. As long as this is humanly readable, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it's humanly readable, we don't worry about formatting and things, then this is acceptable to CIPC. So even though these don't line up, it doesn't matter. This is acceptable to CIPC, and we can submit it like this. Save it. Let's go to the notes. Okay, the notes can be a little more complicated, but it's the same HTML editor. So let's go there, and then let's go into my Excel financial statements again. Right, now if I find where my notes part starts, I can go there and I can just block the entire thing. Okay, this is just a demo set. Okay, it can be very long. Okay, do a copy, Control C, come back here, remember, click there, Control V, and click Process to HTML. Okay, notice the top part doesn't really look very good, but when it gets into the HTML, it's all been sorted out into columns. Run down, save, and be patient. Okay, this one's processing a lot because it was a very long set of notes. And then come back in and have another look at it. Okay, this is looking good to me. I think that that's going to go through just fine. Right, then we're going to do the same thing with the director's report and work through to the next one. Okay, I'm going to complete these quickly and then we'll be able to have a look at the validation side of things. Okay, here's something very important to note. On the corporate governance side, if your PI score is greater than 500, then the taxonomy is looking for the disclosure of a social and ethics committee. What they're wanting is the report that's included in the financial statements, if there is one. Because the Companies Act doesn't specify that it must be included in the financial statements, you might not have one, in which case you need to tell the system that. So I go in here, go to the HTML editor, and I'll just say no report included and save it. Okay, now as I've captured all the data, let's whip back up to the top and let's look at each one of these and make sure that we don't have any errors coming up in the error column. So we can click on this button here to hide anything that's unused, and then we can have a look through. Okay, if it's got a question mark, we just need to read it and make sure that we're happy with the figures. So this one, date of independent review, okay, it wasn't reviewed, so we don't need that. So that one's fine. Let's go to the next one. No problems here. Let's go to the next one. No problems. And do that all the way through. Then we're ready to create our iXBRL file. On the left here, iXBRL file. And you'll notice that you first need to pay for the company before you can view the file. But you can still create the file. Let's do that. Alright, now it says open the iXBRL file. If I click on that, it's going to take me to a page that says I need to pay. Alright, and that's where that is. Let's go back to our company. So we can still create the iXBRL file, and we should do that, and we can still send it to the CIPC validation engine to see whether the file will actually be accepted by CIPC. So you can do all that before you pay for it. Okay, so it's been there. View any errors. Let's have a look. Okay, we're almost always going to get this error. So this formula errors that we're looking at here would give us a list of any errors that don't meet the validation criteria. Now they either come up with a warning or an error. Warnings can be ignored, but errors, you will not be able to submit the file without sorting those out. And it will tell you on this side what the problem is. So for example, this one is telling me that the public interest score is not calculated properly. The problem here is that the CIPC don't calculate the public interest score correctly. That's why they've reduced this to a warning, because they just look at total liabilities instead of third-party liabilities. In fact, they don't even have a field or a tag for third-party liabilities. That's going to change in the new taxonomy. So we look through here, find any errors, sort them out, look at validation errors. Okay, now these are a different type of error, and they'll vary depending on the circumstances. These ones, okay, the error types are W's, those are warnings, so they can be ignored, but you should sort them out if you can do. Let's look at the first one, and it tells me that there's an inconsistency in the calculation. But if we look here, it's looking at this statement 320, which is comprehensive income by nature of expense. Do we even use that one? Let's have a look. Let's go to our report data. 320? No, we're not using 320. Okay, because we're not even putting it in, it's coming up with a validation error which we can ignore. We're not even using 320. Okay, so that one was 320. This one is as well. This one is about 220, which also we're not using. It's a statement of financial position, order of liquidity. We're not using that. And this one. So, those are just warnings. This is just a warning. This file will be accepted for submission to CIPC. But how do you get the file? Go back here. You can create it, but you'll first need to pay for it. Okay, so go through and pay for it. So to do that, you can go back to My Companies, go to My Fees Due, and go and pay for it. Click on Pay Now. It will tell you make a deposit into this account, or if you prefer, you can use PayFast, and you can use their instant EFT. Okay, use instant EFT or pay by credit card, whichever one suits you. And at the end of this process, it will come back to iXBRL and will process your payment. So let me go through this process now. I'll just do it on my other screen. So PayFast returns me here with a PayFast confirmation. Payment completed. Thank you. Companies have been updated. Click on OK. I don't have a pay now anymore, just got an expiry date. Okay, this lasts for 6 months. So if I open this company, go to my iXBRL, create the file, I can open it and view it. So that's what it looks like. You'll notice that section, statement of financial position 210. Here's my numbers. Okay, it goes off the screen a bit. Okay, if you want to make it a little bit narrower, you actually can do that. There's a setting. You can close this one down, go back to the details. There's a setting down here. If we change this to 1200, for example, save it, go back here, create the file, and view it, you'll see now it's a little bit narrower. Okay, sometimes we have to make it nice and wide to fit the notes in nicely. Okay, but you can see these numbers that we captured in the form, and then these are the notes that we copy and pasted through. As long as these are humanly readable, we're happy with them. So you can have a look down, make sure you're happy with all that. Okay, close that, and now you could download the iXBRL file. When you click download, choose where you want to save it, and save it. That's the file that you submit to CIPC on their portal. That's fairly easy to do as well. Let me take you through it. Right, let's go to the CIPC site, cipc.coza. We go to online transacting e-services. You will need to log in to do this, so customer login and login. Okay, in order to do an upload, you go to transact, then you go to annual financial statements, annual financial statements iXBRL. You'll put in the name, the number of the enterprise that you're going to be uploading for. Okay, type in the registration number, click validate, check it's the right company, continue. When you get here, you can fill in these details. Choose the iXBRL file. Okay, that'll be from the file that I just downloaded. Alright. Any comments, tick that it's approved, audited, and click on the upload. I'm not going to do this because it's just a demo file that I've got, but you will get a response saying that the file has been successfully uploaded. That message will look something like this: validation successful with warnings, and then you can view the filing if you want to. So that's it in a nutshell. That's how we use the iXBRL Mate on the web. If you have any problems with the validations, you're welcome to phone us. We can connect with TeamViewer and we'll help you out. We'll help you get it sorted out. If you've got any feedback, you need any help, please get hold of us. Thanks so much. Bye bye.